This is the Facts of Life, where research-based knowledge from the Family and Consumer Sciences is brought to you with life applications. I'm your host, Amanda Harner. Our guest today is UGA Extension 4-H agent Rachel Frisbie. And these are the facts on the benefits of hiking.
One of the things that I think is really interesting about you, and part of the reason we're doing this show, is you are super into hiking and have a passion for the Smoky Mountains in particular, right?
I love the outdoors. I love being outside. Hiking is one of my hobbies I do very frequently. Me and my husband do together. We actually have a YouTube channel, like a vlog of our different hikes and things that we do. It kind of started as like something to do together because we both enjoyed hiking, and then it turned into something he does full time, which is pretty cool. I love hiking. I've done it for a while now, pretty much most of my life, and it's just one of my big passions. It's my way to relieve stress, and just I love being outside. I love reaching the top of mountains and seeing waterfalls and stuff like that. But Smoky Mountains, I definitely would say.
Where do you think that interest came from, and how was it developed in your life?
So, not a lot of people know, but I have 7 brothers and sisters. And so we were highly encouraged to get outside a lot. And so we explored the outdoors as much as we possibly could. We were always outside doing different things, running through the woods, building forts, climbing trees, making little ant homes, just different things.
Ant homes?
Yeah, like we would make little villages. Me and my sisters would, like, little mud mounds and things, and make them little houses and tunnels and roads. And so it was really fun. But hiking was something that we really enjoyed. Like, we grew up around High Falls State Park and Dawson Trails, and so we had a lot of trails to access. And so we would go out there as much as we could and go hiking and just spend time outdoors. And that was something that me and Nick kind of clicked on when we got together, and it was just something that, like, we enjoyed doing together, and then it developed into a lot more. One of our goals is to go to all of the national parks in the U.S. One of those scratch off things. Every time we go to a national park, we scratch it off, and it has color. It's really cool.
Like one of the posters?
Yeah, it's like above our bed. It's a big poster of the United States of national parks. But it was a way for us to spend time together and connect in a way.
I would think a pretty inexpensive date, typically, right?
Absolutely, yeah, for sure, free, unless if it's like park pass or something. But it's really it makes for pretty cheap vacations, which is fun. But so you and Matt enjoy hiking too, right?
Yes, we do. We don't do nearly as much as you do. And but as you know, I mean, we went to Rocky Mountain National Park and went out to Colorado and did some hikes in the park and around that area. And it was amazing. It was just so beautiful. And we enjoy it. I think that part of it is there's so many distractions that go on in life on a day-to-day basis. And there's something that's just refreshing about being out in nature. And you kind of have the time to talk, but because you're walking and enjoying things, there's always something beautiful to see. So even if there's the space to talk about things that, as a couple, we might want to talk about and haven't really had time to like fully dive into the way that maybe we need to. And at the same time, there's a lot of beautiful distractions that make for great conversation too. What are mental and physical benefits of hiking?
So physical, it definitely helps, obviously, with building muscle, because you're engaging practically every single muscle in your body. So it helps to strengthen, like when you're carrying your backpack, it helps to strengthen your shoulders and your back and your core. When you're going uphill, you're engaging your glutes and your quads, and so your legs are really engaged going uphill. As same with downhill, but it's like different parts of your legs. So like your ankles, your hips, your core to keep you stable. You're engaging. So when you're engaging all those muscles in your body, you're also building your balance. So you're like judging those obstacles and different things. You're engaging and contracting your core muscles to provide stability and balance for you. Because I mean, like with hiking, you're not, most of the trails, you're not on just flat ground. I mean, there are a lot of trails that are flat ground, but you're either stepping over rocks and roots and like making sure you're going uphill and things like that. You're also like your heart, so you're engaging your heart. So it helps with heart health. It's cool to see the way my body has progressed and like strengthened over that time. And like doing 1-2 mile hikes compared to like 15-mile hikes now, like can easily do those now, where in the beginning I was, oh, good Lord, no way, I'll never be able to do that. But it's cool to just see like the ways that your body like strengthens to those things and makes you feel a lot more confident, build your confidence in your body.
Which would fall under the like mental and emotional health benefits. What are some of the mental health benefits?
Being out in nature, it brings us back to like where we're at, to the present, and it evokes just a sense of calm and peace, especially with their hectic lives, like all the technology and things. It's just a way to disengage from all of those and just to be present to your surroundings. It helps us reduce our anxiety and helps us to disconnect from the pressures we feel from constantly scrolling and comparing ourselves to everybody else's lives. It's a way to challenge ourselves. The trails I thought I couldn't accomplish now, I'm able to accomplish, and builds that self-esteem. There was a study in 2010 that they found that just spending 5 minutes outdoors exercising can lead to like more confidence in yourself. And so
part of the result of physical activity is really good for your brain in a physical sense and in terms of like memory and all of those things. But it's also helpful for the chemicals that are released in terms of mental and emotional health as well. As extension agents, one of the things that we're tasked with is providing research-based education to the people of our county. How we go about doing that is we do community needs assessments. So we'll look at all kinds of demographic data. We'll look at national, state, and local statistics on different things. And we take all of that and we say, okay, like this is what the data shows. Our community members really need programming around to be healthier or to be successful in agriculture or to become better leaders. When you did this for Monroe County, can you talk a little bit about what you found in regard to youth and how that became a part of your programming?
So I did a needs assessment. I did it on my plans for my focuses are healthy living, outdoor education, STEM, and leadership development. I'd heard from parents and teachers, kids were constantly on computers. Like at school, they're on their computers all day. Like most of their work is on a laptop. And then when they get home, they're watching TV or they're on a gaming device or their iPad. And so that's a full day of just technology. And they weren't really, besides the 30-minute recess, or if they're even in a sport or something like that, then they weren't getting outdoors. It's important for them to learn that technology, but I've just heard lot of frequency in they need something to be outdoors. They need something to get them active. And so I did that needs assessment, and there was a clear indication that outdoor education programs were something that were needed and something that were wanted from our community. And so I created, it's very easy for me to create the Outdoor Adventure Club because something I'm passionate about and wanted to share that with others, but also there was that need. And most of our elementary schools are STEM certified. And so wanted to take that and take the need for being outdoors and create the Outdoor Adventure Club. Created that in the beginning of 2022. It was a way to introduce topics of like planning and preparing for a hike, leave no trace principles. I kind of structured the first part of my Outdoor Adventure Club when I first started it around those leave no trace principles. So each session we did something for that principle.
The U.S. Forest Service, National Park Service, and Bureau of Land Management conducted work in the mid-1980s that the Leave No Trace Center for Outdoor Ethics built on, which led to the 7 Leave No Trace principles we have today. These principles are rooted in scientific research. There are 7 Leave No Trace principles which are easily found on the National Park Service website and on the Leave No Trace website, which can be found at lnt.org. Now, these 7 principles are: 1, plan ahead and prepare; 2, travel and camp on durable surfaces; 3, dispose of waste properly; 4, leave what you find; 5, minimize campfire impacts; 6, respect wildlife; and 7, be considerate of other visitors. The Leave No Trace website provides information on the research behind these principles. Just type in research in the search bar on the website and you'll find a wealth of information. Personally, I really like the research bibliography resource.
That's what I focused on the first year, and I still focus on that, the Leave No Trace principles. I really emphasize that Leave No Trace principles aren't just for going out on the trail, going hiking or camping.
Yeah.
Like, it's for everyday life. I think that we should think of those things, everyday life. Like, I mean, we obviously need to plan and prepare for different things every day and dispose of our waste properly. That's not just like on the trail. Like, those are respecting wildlife. Just with how urbanized like we've come, a lot of these things we need to just keep in mind on a daily basis. But last year I expanded it to, we have a lot of really great natural areas around us. We have High Falls, we've got Indian Springs, Gerald Plantation, we have Dosset Trails, the Oakmobile Indian Mounds. We have a lot of places within our like 30, 45 minutes of us and within our county that like I felt that we should connect with more. And so I reached out to the naturalists and set up different, if they would like lead something. So we did the native plant identification at High Falls. We did wilderness survival techniques at Indian Springs, navigation skills at Dosset Trails. And so they got to learn different things. It was really cool. And it was just a really good connection with the naturalists and the state parks. So our end of our season, we went to Panola Mountain on a Saturday and spent the whole Saturday there, and they completed the Junior Ranger program. Because you can go to national parks and state parks and do they have a Junior Ranger program at every single one of those.
Our main mission as humans is just to be able to live and cohabitate with these bears in peace. But how do we do that? Does anybody have any questions?
Not disturb them?
Right, like, yeah, don't just be shooting bears, right? We need specific permits to do that and seasons. But what about our trash?
That's why there's not a lot of trash cans here, because you guys just don't want it out, or they have them on the lid.
Yeah, so we don't want just those regular lid trash cans, because the bears can easily topple that over and eat whatever they want. And once a bear becomes food conditioned, then that bear is more likely to approach humans and to be more comfortable with them. And then there's a higher possibility of someone getting hurt, whether that's the bear or the human. Oh, the pledge doesn't really change. It's just me either saying as a junior ranger I or as a not so junior ranger I.
Let's do not so junior ranger.
Okay. So I'm just gonna raise my right hand and you're just gonna repeat after me.
Alright.
As a not so junior ranger I.
As a not so junior ranger, I
Promise to preserve.
promise to preserve
And protect.
and protect
The Great Smoky Mountains.
the Great Smoky Mountains,
Wildlife.
wildlife,
History.
history,
And natural features.
and natural features.
When I return home,
When I return home,
I will teach others
I will teach others
how to protect
how to protect
the natural world.
the natural world.
Congratulations, not so junior ranger. Okay, so that is for you.
Yay.
And
All right.
this is for you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much. All right.
I'm a junior ranger.
I'm so excited for you.
Thank
Just see your little patch. Thank you.
All right, have a great day.
Thank
You
you.
too.
They can get their little patches.
Yeah.
And so it just gives them something to expand on as and they all really enjoyed it, and they got to spend a day outside. It was a beautiful day, and it also gave them something to do with their families. So it connected back to their families to bring not just them but their siblings and their parents into it as well.
I like that you included the parents at the end of it, because your assessment that you had to do with the county, it aligns with some of the things that we see in adults. So there's not enough activity in adults. We score very low as a county in that area, and the actual hard data shows that. But then when we go out and we actually talk to community members to kind of get a feel for what their perspective is about it, they say the same things. Leadership in the community expresses that there's not enough physical activity going on and that there's a lack of opportunities, encouraging healthful behaviors in community members. And so like you, that is an area that I try to address through my programming, something that, you know, both of us talk about a lot in terms of like, how can we provide opportunities that encourage adults as adults, children as children, and the family as a whole to get involved in? And that's one of the really fantastic things about hiking and being outside and walking and stuff too, is it's very much something that can be done as a family activity, and multi-generations can do it.
What really sparked something in me to be like this is needed is I read a book by Richard Louth. It's called Last Child in the Woods, and he coins the term nature deficit disorder. Have you heard of that?
Only through you.
Only for me. Yeah. So it's the idea that direct exposure to nature is essential for healthy childhood development and for the physical and emotional health of children and adults, because of social trends and urbanization. So like suburban sprawl, technology, those things have kind of taken that away, taken that out of childhood. The world has changed significantly since I was a child. He kind of goes into the difference between, yes, structured outdoor time is essential to kids, like sports, but them in sports that builds like teamwork and leadership and helps give them some sort of physical activity. But having unstructured time in the outdoors is essential. He highlights like a really concerning trend that in the United States, children are spending less time playing outdoors or in any unstructured way. And from 1997 to 2003, they did a study, and there was a decline of 50% in the proportion of children that between the ages of 9 and 12 who spent time outside doing activities like hiking or walking or fishing or gardening. And that's a significant drop.
50% is huge.
That statistic really stuck out to me. 50%, that's massive, that children weren't having that unstructured time. And he goes into what unstructured time outdoors looks like and how beneficial it is to childhood development. Like, it builds their, obviously, stamina, and it builds just their, like we were talking about, the benefits of it, not only just being physical, but mental, and helping them learn how to work through problems and situations, and letting them be creative. And like I was talking about in my childhood, building little ant farms or little ant cities in the yard. And so with the Outdoor Adventure Club, that's something like I allow for. So we'll do like the little class or something with the state park, but I'll also give them time just to explore the way they want to explore. It's a call to action to provide those opportunities for kids to get outdoors, and how we're looking at the way our world looks in the future. Like, do we want to continue all of this urbanization? How are we looking at the world, and how are we shaping it for the children in the future? What's it going to look like 50 years from now if we continue the way that we're going? It's a really great book. If you're interested in the outdoors or childhood development or anything like that, I think it's a good read.
Depending on where you live or what you've been exposed to in terms of the idea of hiking, some people think of that as it's always hills or it's always mountains, or it's just not the case. Hiking in Florida looks very different than hiking in Colorado or Alaska. But you can still like hike in Florida. It's super flat, but there's all kinds of really cool state parks, and it's different. But
a story of our hike in Florida.
Okay.
I don't prefer Florida. I'll tell you that. Like, I like Florida. I think I need to go in the winter time, but we were down there.
Because humidity and heat's not a thing there at all.
Oh my gosh. Like, we were visiting his mom, and we found this nature preserve nearby. Like, tick on not being prepared. I was just in like regular tennis shoes, and we forgot bug spray. Horrible idea. We just went out there. It was a short hike, and it had just rained. That was the most miserable I've ever been on a trail in my entire life. We stopped somebody, like, please give us bug spray. I had like just bug bites of just everywhere. Most of the trail was covered in water. It was very creepy. It was brackish water, so I'm like, there could be anything in here. We're just walking through it.
Alligators.
Yes. Or snakes, who knows? I don't know. But I survived, and we got back to his mom's house, and she was gone. And I thought I was gonna like tear my skin off because I just felt so gross and just covered in bug bites. I was like, it's the worst. So I prefer Florida. I like being mountains.
Wow. We do also know from research that going through hard things and learning how to work through them is healthy too.
I have never forgotten bug spray ever again, I can tell you that.
Well, there you go. Yeah. So, I mean, you learn how to navigate new challenges through those kinds of things. And, like you said, if you didn't prepare for something, on the back end, it becomes very memorable and you think twice about it. So part of the point of mentioning that there's lots of different types of hikes. There are hikes that are available that are flat. There are hikes that are extremely strenuous, where it practically becomes a situation where you would have to almost be roped in and climbing. You mentioned scrambling before. So scrambling is basically often boulders and trying to work your way and navigate your way around in a safe manner. And so in that sense, hiking is not accessible to some when you are talking about certain types of hikes, but on the other hand, hiking is super accessible economically. It's pretty cost effective. even if you're going to a national park, they try to keep the cost low, and they try to offer opportunities for that to be even lower at certain times, or for certain individuals.
Like offer a variety of trails and outdoor just activities that you can do for pretty much anybody, from wheelchair accessible all the way to you want to mountain climb, go ahead.
Right, exactly. More and more parks are becoming wheelchair accessible, and it's not just like wheelchair accessible where, you know, you go and you have your own wheelchair, but there's a lot of parks that are starting to provide all-terrain chairs.
That's something I found incredibly just very heartwarming. My family, so my dad is confined to a wheelchair. That was something that we would do when we would go see him. We'd have our outings and go to like a state park on Saturdays, or walk around a lake, or have a picnic. And it was always difficult. A lot of the times was difficult for us to find parks within driving distance from him that were accessible. Now they're becoming a lot more accessible. We go to Amicalola Falls, and they've got really good wheelchair accessible. That was one of the first ones I remember being wheelchair accessible, and it being a beautiful waterfall for him to see and us to enjoy together. So recently, state parks, I know in Georgia, I haven't looked beyond Georgia. I'm pretty positive there are in like national parks and stuff. But in Georgia, the state parks have partnered with the Amy Copeland Foundation to provide those all-terrain wheelchairs. There's currently 10 state parks and historic sites that offer them. These are awesome wheelchairs. Got like the triangle like track wheels that can go through mud and go through sand and water. And so it allows people to get out farther into nature and go fishing. You can go down trails, and it's really cool that they are providing those. I know Panola Mountain, they have it. Cloudland Canyon, that's where I learned about it. We went to Cloudland Canyon, and I saw somebody using it. I was like, man, that is like awesome that they're providing that. It's something I think is really awesome, really cool.
The other thing that's really cool in Georgia is the library system has a lot of resources. One of those resources is state park passes. I'm sure other states have things like that too. So just a kind of a note. Access your library, see what kind of resources they have for this kind of stuff. So what are the resources you use, and how do you plan?
So you can always just like, hey, let's do this trail, but I want to look at the difficulty level of the hike and if it's suitable for how we're feeling that day. Look at the elevation gain. I always look at like the distance and prepare myself that it's probably going to be a little bit longer than what it actually does say. And then I always like to go to the park, look at people's reviews to see the most recent reviews on like all trails or things to see like, hey, is the trail muddy, or is there a stream crossing? Checking out, making sure I'm wearing the appropriate clothing for the hike. Because if there's a stream crossing, I want to wear my waterproof shoes rather than my trail runners, because those could get soaked. And then preparing my day pack. So do I have enough water? Do I have enough snacks? Do I have my first aid kit? Is it fully stocked? So there's a lot of like thinking and planning that goes into that prior to you actually hitting the trail. But with water, the recommended amount is at least like 1 16-ounce bottle for every hour you plan to be out there. So you need to think about the time period that you're going to be out there.
And how hot it is, or cold.
How cold it is. What time of year is it? So making sure that trail length is suitable for the time of year. Like right now we're in winter and the sun sets at like 5:30, 6 o'clock. So we got to make sure that the trail isn't so long that we're going to be out there past dark. And if we are, then to make sure we have our headlamps and things like that. What are some things you do?
Yeah, so we definitely look at things like all trail. I try to kind of be cognizant of, is this an area that local authorities are recommending that we would check in somewhere beforehand?
Always letting somebody know, whether it's your mom, best friend, something, letting them know where you're going and what time to expect to hear from you. You could always fall and hurt yourself, and somebody needs to know where you're at and what you're doing and when to expect to hear from you, just to be on the safe side.
Yeah, I mean, when we went to Colorado, so we knew we were going to be out of range at times and stuff like that. So I had a very specific itinerary. It was maybe a little overdone. I'll share it. But
That's a good itinerary.
People who know me know I've become obsessed with Canva, and any opportunity I have to make something fancy on it, I'll do it. So I had this itinerary that had our specific schedule. It had the time, like our flights and the times we were landing and the places that we were staying and the campgrounds and the campground reservations and all of the stuff. But it also had all of the hikes that we had planned on the days that we planned to do them. And what we did was we left those with family members, but then we also had a copy in the vehicle with us. So if we changed our plan, we would cross it out and we would write down and change with our change of plan, and we would try to put the approximate time that we left, and we would leave that like in the car in a visible location so that if we didn't make it back to the car, so like that night that we were hiking and we were really, really late, they wouldn't have known that we were missing until morning if we hadn't made it back to the car. But there would have been, you know, those documents on the seat or on the dash or something where it would have been really, really clear that, hey, they left at this time. They were anticipating being back that night, and the car is still here. And this is what we're seeing on the schedule. So even though our family would have had a different schedule, the authorities would have been able to see that, you know, there was something else going on.
We've covered a lot at this point. If you're new to hiking, you may be thinking, wow, there's really a lot to consider before hitting the trail. Well, here are some tips straight from An Adventure with Nick and Rachel.
We've compiled a list of 14 essentials to take if you are beginning hiking. So the first thing is appropriate clothing. A common mistake we've seen is people wearing everyday comfortable clothes such as jeans and a cotton t-shirt. These clothing items will soak up your sweat, they'll get damp, they'll get heavy, and they'll cause chafing and a pretty uncomfortable experience. Also, if you're hiking a mountain, if you start at the base and you're hiking your way up and you're sweating, your clothes are soaking in all that sweat, by the time you get to your summit, they are wet and still damp, and they're going to make you very cold. Just remember, cotton kills. You should be wearing clothing that is moisture wicking and made for being active. So along with appropriate clothing, the next thing you should bring is extra layers. Temperatures can fluctuate throughout the day. Whether it's spring or fall, they can change. Also, if you're at the base of a mountain, the temperature at the summit of the mountain can be totally different, and storms can roll in very quickly. So bringing an extra layer for us looks like bringing a down jacket or synthetic jacket, whichever you prefer, an extra pair of pants or leggings, and an extra pair of socks. Please don't throw me your dirty socks, thank you. And so you don't want to be out on the trail and get cold, so bring an extra layer. So as we said, storms can roll in very quickly, so the next thing you need to bring is rain protection. Even if you've checked the weather and it doesn't look like there's going to be any rain, there's still a chance that there could be rain. I bring a lightweight, thin rain jacket, but a $2 poncho can work just as well. So the next thing is shoes. As you can tell in our earlier videos, we both started out in tennis shoes until we could afford better hiking shoes. Hiking shoes really do make all the difference though. But if you're just starting out and getting used to the trail, tennis shoes will work just fine. Just make sure they have a good grip on the bottom and that they protect your toes and the top of your feet. Also, if you're starting out in tennis shoes, make sure you start with easier trails as well. The next thing you need is a day pack. You can get an affordable day pack at Walmart, and that's actually what I started out with, until unfortunately a family member's dog spilled my beef jerky that I left in it and tore it to shreds, but that worked wonderful for the time that I had it. Now I'm using just a hand-me-down pack until I can make it to REI to get a better long-lasting pack. You do not need a super expensive day pack to start off with. You just need something that has 2 large pockets that you can put all your supplies in and outside access to water bottles. Alright, so the next thing you need to bring is water. Hydration is crucial. You need to bring more water than you'll think you'll need. Also, the day or night before you go hiking, make sure you're drinking water throughout that day so you wake up the next day hydrated and ready to go. Also, throughout the trail, you want to be drinking your water consistently, not just when you start to feel very thirsty. You may also want to bring a water filtration system just in case, such as a Sawyer Mini, a VersaFlow or a Life Straw. Any of those options are good, just bring one just in case. Also, review the trail beforehand so you know if there are water sources as well as where those water sources are. Also, it doesn't matter what you bring your water in. We like to use Nalgene water bottles because we have found that the water pouches, we drink our water way too fast. But it doesn't matter, it's your preference, whatever you bring. Just bring enough water and drink your water consistently to stay hydrated. The next thing is snacks. You need to bring high energy snacks. Those can be things like beef jerky, dried fruit and nuts, or energy bars. And just like with water, you're going to want to bring more than you think you'll need. The rule of thumb is to bring enough snacks for an entire day. We also like to bring electrolyte packets or a body armor to restore those electrolytes we've lost throughout our hike. So the next thing is a map. You need to have a knowledge of the trail you are going to do. And we realize that most people aren't going to use a paper map or bring a paper map, but if you have that option, it's a great one. There are digital options as well, such as apps like AllTrails that you can download the map of the trail the night beforehand. There are other apps that do this as well, but AllTrails is the one that we like to use. So the next thing is an emergency blanket. These can be used for so many different things, and you're probably not even going to be able to need to use it, but it's better to be safe than sorry. Plus, they're super light and compact, so you probably won't even notice you're carrying it. Another thing you'll hopefully never need, but is a must to take, is a first aid kit. The top things that should be in your first aid kit is antibiotic ointment, band-aids, gauze wrap, moleskin for blisters, Tylenol, and Benadryl. Make sure that everything in your first aid kit you know how to use and nothing is expired. So a headlamp is also something you should take just in case that you probably won't need but should definitely have with you. Because there are instances where you're out on the trail and you're out there a little bit longer than you expected and you don't want to be out there and you can't see and you get lost or stuck. So take a headlamp just in case. Alright, the next thing you need to take is a fire starter kit. This is something that you will hopefully never need, but it's better to be safe than sorry. Some options to include are waterproof matches, a lighter, a ferro rod, and something that catches, like cotton balls, tissue paper, or fire plugs. Make sure everything is in a waterproof bag, and also personally, I like to take more than one option. The next thing is sun and bug protection. That includes sunscreen, SPF chapstick, a hat, sunglasses, and bug spray, and you want to make sure you reapply those things throughout the day. The final thing you need to take is a knife, and this is for emergencies and protection because you never know when you might be out on the trail and need it to cut some bandage or cut some rope. But another great option to take is a multi-tool. Alright, so I know that list sounds super long and it sounds like we're toting a suitcase out on the trail, but everything we mentioned fits into this small pack. Also, everything we mentioned there is a budget option for, and we will list those below for you. We hope this video helps you to feel more prepared and encourages you to get out there on the trail. Thank you for watching. We look forward to seeing you on our next adventure.
What other thoughts do you have? Because I think we're about done. Unless you have burning things.
Not really.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Research-based resources represented in this episode of Vodcast can be found in the episode description. The views and thoughts expressed in this video podcast are the speaker's own and do not necessarily represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of the University of Georgia or the guest organizations and board employers. The material and information presented here is for general information purposes only. The University of Georgia name, as well as those guest organizations, and all firms and abbreviations are the property of its owner, and its use does not imply endorsement of or opposition to any specific organization, product, or service. These are the facts of life. Thanks for joining us. Check out our website at facsoflife.extension.uga.edu. That's FACS of life.extension.uga.edu.